Just in, the latest forecast for Tropical Storm Isaac now bearing down on Haiti. Cuba is likely next, and then it's open water and an open question as to the kind of risk the storm will pose to Florida and to Tampa, host of the Republican convention. Let's go straight to our meteorologist, our severe weather expert, Chad Myers at the CNN Weather Center. You just got the latest forecast. Chad, what does it show us?
Bumped up the wind speed to 65 miles per hour now, and that's a sustained wind. There's probably gusts higher than that. That's the center right there of Isaac, and we're seeing these outer bands come on shore for the Dominican Republic and also Haiti. Get rid of this. I'm going to throw it down, make it a lot closer, and I'll show you where our reporters are. We have one reporter right there, Port-au-Prince, Gary Tuckman, and then our Marty Savage is right here along the coast, the south coast of Haiti. We're going to get some very large winds and waves here across parts of the Dominican Republic here in the next few hours with this band as it works its way in. That wind and that rain will get into Haiti, Port-au-Prince, at least at 60 miles per hour in these outer bands. And then even closer to the center will be our Marty Savage, and he may feel conditions even worse than that. Getting a little bit farther out, the rainfall potential is tremendous, over 10 inches in the Dominican Republic and also Haiti. Mountainous countries could cause quite a bit of flooding there. And the new track, here it is, the 5 o'clock track, making landfall at 2 o'clock on Tuesday on the North Gulf Coast. But I have to advise everybody here that we still only look at the cone. And South Florida, Miami-Dade, you are still in that cone. There are many computer models that do something like this, coming out of Cuba, over South Florida, back into the Gulf of Mexico, and then back around like that. That's one potential. Another potential is coming over Cuba and then turning here to the right. Well, if that right turn is a little bit too early, we're still talking about the left coast there of Florida being in the cone as well. Focus on the cone still days away, maybe a day or two before you have to really start prepping, but you have to start thinking about it now.
And you've been pointing out that this is now a tropical storm, but it's likely to be a Category 1 hurricane as it gets through the warm waters of the Gulf after it leaves Cuba, if you will. But you've also suggested, and I just want to be precise on this, Chad, that it could be bigger than a Category 1. How would that play out?
Couple different scenarios, because this can still go left or right. We've noticed a noticeable shift toward the northwest today, not just all west. If it gets into the Florida Straits, south of the Bahamas here, this is very warm water. That's if it stays off the coast of Cuba a little bit longer, then into the Gulf of Mexico and making a longer trip to, let's say, the left side of the cone. That's a long trip. That longer trip would allow it to be in water for a longer time. Therefore, it could get stronger. Hurricane Center's been talking about this for days. Hey, I know we're saying Cat 1, 85, but you might have to prepare for something bigger than that. That's one of the possibilities. The other one is if it actually goes south of Cuba and stays out of the land mass and gets back into the water this way, only making a short trip over Cuba, then it doesn't get torn up very much and probably remains a Category 1 as it goes over Cuba, because it wouldn't get torn up at all here. Those are a couple different scenarios, and I know I hate to be vague, but you still have to be vague 3 days out. You have to let people know, hey, South Florida, Miami-Dade, don't let your guard down yet. And hey, Louisiana, you're still in it too. That's kind of where we are now.
All right, I want you to stand by, Chad, and join in this conversation the director of the National Hurricane Center, Richard Knabb. He's joining us from Miami on the phone right now, and I know you have a question for him as well. But let me ask you about that possibility, Mr. Knabb. Is it likely, is it possible this could be bigger than a Category 1?
It is certainly possible, Wolf, that it could be either stronger or weaker than what we are currently forecasting, and it all has to do with how much time it spends over the land masses of first Haiti and then especially Cuba. On the right side of our cone right now, where some of the models have shifted, at least for now, it would have a shorter trip toward southern Florida and could end up being a little stronger than we're forecasting. If it spends a little more time over Cuba, if it goes a little farther left than we're forecasting, it could be weaker than we're forecasting. And as Chad just mentioned, if it's way to the left of our current track, on the extreme left side of our cone, it could spend time over water south of Cuba. So the land interaction the next 2 days is going to be critical to determining how strong of a system gets near or over Florida and then ultimately into the eastern Gulf of Mexico.
Mr. Knabb, Chad Myers has a question for you. Go ahead, Chad.
Hey, Doctor, we talked a lot this week about how this had many circulation centers and didn't really get its act together. Can you explain how those inner vortices kind of stopped it from being one big storm already?
Yes, it was a large, sprawling, but not terribly strong or well-organized tropical storm yesterday, and especially the day before, with a lot of smaller spins going on about a mean center. But today it has consolidated into more of one well-defined circulation that's a little tighter, and it has strengthened the convection. The thunderstorm activity has increased around portions of that central circulation feature. So it is it's better organized than it was yesterday, but it still doesn't have the core that a high-end tropical storm right near the threshold of hurricane or hurricane itself would have. It isn't quite there yet, and it's going to run out of time this evening before it interacts with Haiti. So that's why we're not explicitly forecasting a hurricane, although a watch is still up for Haiti. And then the stay over Cuba would disrupt whatever core it's trying to develop until it gets north of Cuba, somewhere north of Cuba, and then has the opportunity over warm waters to try to resuscitate itself in terms of its inner core. A few years ago, Ernesto in 2006 had trouble ever getting back together on its way to Florida after leaving northern Cuba. So that's one possibility, but we'll have to see exactly what comes north of Cuba over the weekend.
It is too premature, Dr. Knabb, to ask this parochial question, because like 50,000 other folks, I'm heading towards Tampa tomorrow for the Republican National Convention. How worried should we be?
Well, Tampa is just one of the many places that has the potential to receive tropical storm force winds, heavy rains and maybe inland flooding, and the potential for some storm surge at and near the coast. The risk of strong winds and other hazards due to the water are very similar all the way up the west coast of the Florida Peninsula and along the Florida Panhandle. So it's not like we can pick out Tampa as having a greater risk or a lesser risk than really anybody else on the west coast of Florida, but it's something to watch out for and be prepared for if we have to issue tropical storm or hurricane warnings for that area. It's probable a tropical storm watch at least will go up for the west coast of Florida during the weekend here. But whether or not we get a direct hit in Tampa from hurricane conditions, still too early to tell. It could go farther offshore.
All right, Chad, go ahead. I know you have another question.
Well, Dr. Knabb, people always wonder, how come this is such an inexact science? And it truly is. I try to tell people that we don't have instruments everywhere out there to, like weather balloons like we have over land, to give us an idea of what the atmosphere is truly like. But you have the G4 Hurricane Hunter high-altitude plane out there today, and that is dropping these almost like little lead balloons coming out of this thing, and it's sending them down, and we're getting a better feel for the atmosphere. Tell us about the G4 and how it works.
Yeah, that NOAA G4 jet based out of MacDill Air Force Base, coincidentally in Tampa, you just referenced, it flies not into the hurricane through the eye or through the center of the tropical storm, but it circumnavigates, flies around the tropical cyclone in the environment and drops these parachute-borne instruments we call drop windsons, and those data go into the computer forecast models mainly to help improve the track forecast. The first mission of that jet was yesterday evening. Another one is flying right now, and then we're going to fly another one in the morning. Twice a day, this jet will fly. We fly this specifically for hurricanes to improve the track forecast when we're in that watch warning time frame. But we're throwing every aircraft resource we have at this from NOAA and the Air Force. And again, you mentioned, why is this such an inexact science? It's because of the things you mentioned, not enough data to represent everything that's going on in the atmosphere, especially in the inner core of the storm. But this is a particularly difficult situation because of the uncertainties on exactly what kind of land interaction we're going to have. Small changes in the path mean all the difference in terms of how much time it spends over the water, where it can drive energy, or over land that can tear up the inner core.
That's right.
Richard Knabb is the director of the National Hurricane Center. Dr. Knabb, we'll stay in close touch with you. We appreciate everything you're doing. Obviously, a huge, huge story. Appreciate it very much. Chad, I appreciate everything you're doing as well. Don't go too far away.